No, people, we are not sick. We are not.
Well put. We've got two very, very important guests coming in. On his way right now, Director of Media Relations for NASCAR Southeast Division, Russell Branham.
Mm-hmm.
Russell! And the president of Talladega Superspeedway in hour number 2, that'll be Brian Crichton.
The big dog.
That's right. So we have to be on our best behavior.
Yes.
But we're also looking forward to having some fun with them and talking about NASCAR, not only 2021, but 2022, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to that. Oh, there seems to be a budding rivalry building up. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And, of course, we'll talk Talladega next week and some of the big plans that the track has for coming back in pretty much full force. And that's the fun part about next weekend, is not only are we just racing at Talladega, which is fun enough, we're pretty much back in full force next weekend.
All but in full force, yeah.
That's it. But first, let's do, as we always do, while Russell is completing his drive in, do a quick recap of what happened last week, and that will lead us into one of the big conversations with both Russell and Brian, quite frankly. Last Saturday night, Bristol. Short tracks tend to get people a little hot under the collar. Our resident driver would know a little bit about that after all.
A little bit.
Bristol tends to do that with people, and we're going to get into detail on this between Kevin Harvick and Chase Elliott in a little bit, but their dust-up during the race and afterward actually ends up leading to a win by Kyle Larson. Harvick finishes second, trailed by William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin, and Matt DiBenedetto. How Matt DiBenedetto doesn't have a Cup Series ride for next year, I will never know. Either way, that also ended the round of 16 in the playoffs. The four left without a seat or moving on into the round of 12 will be Eric Almirola, Tyler Reddick, Kurt Busch, and Michael McDowell. As for the four already on the hot seat as of this weekend, they are Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Christopher Bell, and the aforementioned Kevin Harvick. To the NHRA, they were in Charlotte for the Carolina Nationals. Josh Hart downed Brittany Force in the finals. The Top Fuel got a whole shot win there. Funny Cars finals, Tim Wilkerson beating Cruz Pedregon. Then you got Kyle Koretsky beating Greg Anderson in Pro Stock Car finals in a photo finish where the difference was all but 21 inches of Koretsky's car.
That's a little close.
Yeah, think about that for a minute or two. Angel Sampey with a really bad reaction time, but recovers to claim the win in Pro Stock Motorcycle when Joey Gladstone's bike lost power at about the 1,000-foot mark. To get that far and then to lose it had to have been heartbreaking for Gladstone. Out to the left coast, Indycar running their second-to-last race of the 2021 season. WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Colton Herta dominated the race. He led 91 of the 95 laps on that track, which, by the way, fun to watch IndyCar go through the corkscrew.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's Alex Palou who finishes second, who makes the bigger headlines. Palou holding off a hard charge by Romain Grosjean. Grosjean ends up at third. Graham Rahal, Pato Award in the top five. For the final race this weekend, practice was yesterday. Alex Palou was third on the speed charts. The guy who dominated last weekend, Colton Herta, topping the speed charts in practice. But here's the thing. It is a 3-horse race coming up for the Long Beach Grand Prix. Alex Palou with a 35-point lead over Pato Award. Joseph Newgarden's the only other one in contention, and that's barely so, as he sits 48 points out. Those are it. Those are your three. There ain't no more.
Yeah.
Anybody else who had hopes? Scott Dixon. Sorry, they've been dashed.
And it's actually weird to say Scott Dixon is not in contention in the last race.
Ain't it?
It's really weird.
All right. So here we go. This weekend's on-track action actually began last night. We mentioned it. They've been out in Las Vegas. Camping World Truck Series ran the Victoria's Voice Foundation 200 presented by Westgate Resorts. Try saying that 5 times fast. Matt, you've got the quick overview of what happened last night.
A interesting race, no doubt, with only 16 trucks finishing on the top, lead lap. Completing the very first ever 1, 2, 3, 4 finish in Truck Series history for one team.
Yeah.
Was Thor Sport Racing, and it was not Ben Rhodes winning. It was not Matt Crafton winning. It was Christian Eckes
Of all drivers.
taking his first career win with Ben Rhodes running second.
Congratulations to him, by the way. I mean,
No doubt.
That's no small feat. Getting your first win, you know a little bit about this as the resident
yeah.
driver.
Yeah,
what are the feelings behind the wheel as the laps wind down and you're going, my gosh, I could actually grab my first career win.
Well,
Are you thinking about it that much?
You are thinking about it, but the saying does hold true. You're listening for every single sound you can hear. You're just
Are you freaking out about it?
feeling everything out. The laps, you're not, say on a short track, you're running 13 to 15 second laps. Those laps feel like they're 20 to 25.
Right.
The laps get longer, but once you see the white flag, you're thinking, okay, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up. And you literally tell yourself, don't mess up 10 times the entire lap.
Yeah.
But it's a good feeling for sure. Let's just say he was definitely a lot more humble about it than Chandler Smith was at Bristol last week. For sure.
Understood.
He was real subdued and just like, man, I can't believe this finally happened.
Yeah.
But Matt Crafton third, Johnny Sauter coming in fourth. Your overall lap leader, Todd Gilliland, finished fifth. He got freight trained by the Thor Sport trucks. Stuart Friesen sixth, Grant Enfinger seventh, and running in Cody Rohrbar's number 9 truck. Austin Wayne Self eighth, Ryan Truex ninth, and Austin Hill rounding out the top 10. And getting back into the saddle last night, making the first start he's made in quite a while, since actually June, if I'm not mistaken. Coming up from 35th to 11th was Brett Holmes.
Starting 35th and being able to go all the way to 11th. And at one point in time, you told me he was at the front of the pack.
One of the restarts, he and Tate Fogelman stayed out on pit strategy, and it's real interesting when you're sitting by his sister on a couch and she goes, oh gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. He's on the front row. Yep, he's on the front row. Why'd you take the bottom?
Strategy.
The top was rolling all night long.
I gotcha.
The top was rolling, but he held his ground really, really well, and that was something for sure that team needed a good boost after having some tough luck.
Sure.
Lately, but he's got a little bit of momentum heading into the home game next week.
Okay, good deal. And he will be running at the home game next week.
Yep, and quick look at the way the playoff grid sits after Las Vegas. Ben Rhodes leading right now. He's plus 34 to the good. John Hunter Nemechek plus 28.
He didn't have necessarily all that good of a night.
No, he
night.
fought some serious electrical gremlins last night and ended up having to retire from the race. Stuart Friesen in third right now, plus 9 to the good. Matt Crafton in the final transfer spot, plus 5 to the good. And outside of the top 4, you got Sheldon Creed, minus 5, Carson Hocevar, minus 16, Zane Smith, minus 19, and Chandler Smith, minus 24. Something I want to touch on real quick.
Well, and here's the other side of it.
Yeah.
All this can change at the drop of a hat because it's Talladega next week.
Mm-hmm.
So take nothing for granted.
It can change quickly. To Carson Hocevar, I would recommend changing the color of your driving gloves because here's why. He slows down and goes off the pace, and he's screaming, I got a vibration, got a vibration. Don't know if it's a loose wheel or what, I'm coming in. Well, he slows down, and he's gearing the truck down to hit pit road, and he decides to spin the truck out at the entrance of pit road to bring a caution out. NASCAR didn't like that.
I bet they didn't.
Because they reviewed the video, and with his white gloves, he turns the truck to the right, then back to the left to loop the truck around.
Mm-hmm.
So, rookie mistake. Never wear white gloves.
Something Tony Stewart found out real quick.
Real quick.
First time he ran on a road course in his rookie year back in 1999.
Right.
All right. But, yeah, like I said, next week at Talladega, take nothing for granted.
No doubt.
You know? So even if you are lowest man on the totem pole.
Yep.
You know? In other words, you're 8th out of 8 and the driver on the hottest seat in the playoffs right now. Well, as the old saying goes, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
We are.
No doubt.
Legitimately. Tonight, on the racing weekend schedule. Xfinity Series taken to Las Vegas. They're running the Alsco Uniforms 302. It'll be on the NBC Sports Network and PRN Radio beginning 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Notre Dame takes precedence, I believe, on NBC.
Mm-hmm.
Over to Formula One, they head to Sochi for the Russian Grand Prix. That'll run on the Sochi Autodrome. It's an 18-turn, 3.63-mile-long course. The race set to air on ESPN2, thank the NFL, at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central Time. 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. NHRA in action once again as they get to the NHRA Midwest Nationals going on at Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway St. Louis. That'll be on Fox Sports 1. I'm not really sure why. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's that NFL thing again.
Yeah.
Indycar is next up. They're running the 2021 season finale. It is the Acura Long Beach Grand Prix. 11 turns, 1.96 miles. It's a street course. Airs on the NBC Sports Network and IRN Radio beginning at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. This one I can honestly say I don't know why this isn't on NBC.
Yeah.
I haven't figured that out.
I don't know either.
I mean, what are they airing?
It's
Golf?
puzzling. I don't know. I've been looking and I can't figure that out. Well,
it don't work.
Well, the Ryder Cup is playing right now.
I get that, but still.
I don't know. I don't have a clue.
Yeah. I mean, to me, of all the races
Yeah.
that they could put on NBC,
Right.
this would be the one.
You're right about that.
I mean, behind the Indy 500, this is IndyCar's crown jewel. This
Yeah.
is one of crown jewel races for IndyCar.
Well, we got F1. F1 is running Q1 right now.
Okay.
They're
They
trying
couldn't
to
get FP3 in.
They're trying to get it in before another round of heavy rain comes.
Yeah. Thunderstorms, mostly.
Thunderstorms,
I mean,
yeah,
running
for
in the
sure.
rain is one thing. Thunderstorms is another.
Yeah.
And then finally, you got the Cup Series. They're going to be in Las Vegas tomorrow night. South Point 400 airs on the NBC Sports Network and PRN Radio, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time. We know why that's not on NBC. Again, we reference you back to that old NFL thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Well, welcome in.
Good morning.
How are you?
Getting ready for yet another race.
I know. And,
The Yellowwood 500 right around the corner.
yeah. And
Playoffs at Talladega.
in your position, in your relatively new position, I mean, you've always been kind of in the position of dealing with the media, whether you've just been at Talladega or working for NASCAR. In this case, you're working for NASCAR. But you looked last week at what happened in Bristol between a Kevin Harvick and a Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
I
loved it.
How can you, or what can you do, or what do you do in this situation to take advantage of what happened?
Well, one of the things you can always do is go back and play some of the other things that have happened in our sport like that.
Sure.
Where there's been many times where tempers have flared. I have always said, and you can go back, to the fight that the most people remember is the 79 Daytona 500.
Sure.
Right.
Because that became fisticuffs. Bobby Allison got involved in it, and he wasn't even a part of the wreck, but he stopped to see if his brother wanted to ride back.
Yeah.
And Cale said something to him about the wreck that happened earlier in that race, and of course it ignited it. But if you look at that, when people show raw emotion, to me that is something that just makes our sport completely real.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
agree.
And I absolutely loved it. And in our sport, in any sports, you always have a Batman and Robin versus the Joker. You pull for Batman or Robin, or you pull for the Joker, one of the two. So anyway, I thought it was great. Both of those drivers have causes to be upset. So I don't really. If someone said, "Well, which one do you think was right?" Both of them are right. Racing is all about doing whatever you can to win.
Sure.
And Chase Elliott felt like that Kevin Harvick took him out of a win.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Chase Elliott, in his own way, paid him back.
Right.
Mhm.
And paybacks are a part of our sport. They've been a part of our sport for a long time.
Well, and it's not only that, but there was a little bit of teamwork involved there. I mean, Chase realizes that he doesn't have a chance to win, but one of his teammates actually does.
Yeah, but that was the way to get him back.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the way. If Chase in his mind, well, if I can't win, I'm darn sure going to do what I can to prevent him from winning. But he did it. He did it in a way that was very methodical.
He
You know,
did.
he
Yeah.
wasn't in front. He wasn't right in front of him. He was not blocking him. He wasn't doing anything but just
Yeah.
running a line. And it happened to be the same line that Kevin wanted to go.
Sure.
So I thought it was genius by him to do what he did. And at the same time, if Kevin, you know, Kyle Larson had to pass Kevin Harvick.
True.
Mhm.
Kevin Harvick could have made it a lot more difficult. He could have run Larson up the track. He could have done this. He could have tapped him. He could have. You see what I'm saying? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yep.
he was in the lead, and yeah, Chase Elliott's 3 or 4 car lengths in front of him, but Larson is the one who got up to him, made the pass, and Kevin. I mean, could Harvick have done a few more things? Who knows? I'm not behind the wheel. That's why I say both of them are justified in whatever they both think. It's racing. You go back in time, some things like that happen, and it may have come to fisticuffs.
Sure.
But I love the fact that this is competition.
Mhm.
A lot of our drivers, they may be friends off the track, their wives may be friends, etc. But once you buckle the the belts and you put the helmet on, it's time to go. And you got to answer to a lot of people. You got to answer to your team. You got to answer to your sponsors. You also got to answer to yourself.
Sure.
Mhm.
And the boxing gloves come on whenever you get behind the wheel, and you do whatever you can to win. And if somebody wrecks you and you're ticked off about it, good.
Yeah.
You're showing raw emotion, and so anyway, I thought it was great. One of the things that my hope is that this is going to develop into a nice rivalry.
It's got
the young,
the bones for it.
the veteran guy that people love or hate. You've got the young gun who is, our series champion, the son of another former series champion,
Right.
Bill Elliott. Huge fan favorite. So I love it.
I want to play up on that fan favorite bit. We got to take a break. Let's go ahead and take that first break of the show here. When we come back, I want to play up on that fan favorite because if you listen to the post-race interviews afterwards, Kevin Harvick and then Chase Elliott, the fans were not in any hurry to leave the stands. They were waiting for those post-race interviews, and they were making their voices very, very plain.
Very loud.
So I want to get back into that when we come back. Plus, I want to see from the driver perspective and from Russell's perspective what this may or may not have done for the fortunes of one Kevin Harvick. That's next when we get back into things right here. We're just underway. Got Russell Brandon in studio here on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
This report.
cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back in. We'll be getting back into the conversation here in just a moment, but first things first, I want to talk about the foundation of your home because, well, let's face it, it's kind of important to have. And if your foundation is failing, that means major problems for your house. You don't want to have that happen. That's why you need to give our good friend Michael Hart a call at 205-362-6419. Set up an appointment, or you can email him. You can do that too, mike@oxfoundations.com. He'll come out, he'll go over, under, and through your house, make sure that everything's good. He'll have it on a piece of paper, which is at no cost to you. Okay? Make sure this is clear to you. He'll come out and he will go over your house at no cost to you and hand you a no-obligation written foundation assessment and tell you, hey, nothing's wrong with your house. We're good to go. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Or if there is something wrong with your house, God forbid, you have it on paper. You know exactly what's wrong with it. You know how much it's going to cost to fix it. And then you get to throw this little bit. You heard it right here on CRN. You mentioned the promo code WEST, W-E-S-T. You get 15% off of that estimate that he just handed you when you use Ox Foundation Solutions. Ox Strong. Go ahead and set it up. What are you waiting for? Give him a call, 205-362-6419 if you are anywhere in the state of Alabama, or email him, mike@oxfoundations.com. He'll go out there, he'll get it all set up, and get you started with Ox Foundations and Michael Hart. Make sure that everything is good. Don't forget that promo code WEST for 15% off if you need work done to your house and its foundation. Because otherwise, we're talking thousands of dollars if you just let it go, and you don't want that out of your pocket. All right. Let's get back into this here. In studio, I'm Steve West with Matt Nicholson, John Myers, and Russell Branham, Director of Media Relations, Southeast Division. Am I getting this right? Of NASCAR?
Yeah, titles with a piece of paper is written on.
Does that actually fit on a business card?
I'm a PR gopher at Talladega, Daytona, and Homestead, Miami. So,
in looking at this, we mentioned it before the break. What happened at Bristol last weekend is a gold mine for somebody like you, in a lot of ways. But you got to figure out how to put it in there without saying, hey, we're going to do everything but set up a boxing ring in the infield.
yeah, for the most part. You can talk about different things that they've done at Talladega in the past. They didn't come to fisticuffs, and they're not going to come to fisticuffs. So, I mean, there have been things before where, we've done photographs with boxing gloves and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, right now, they're all geared toward the playoffs. Had this maybe happened earlier in the year, probably could have got them to do some weird type things.
Could be.
But with the pressure of the playoffs right now, and knowing that a lot could be determined this weekend in Vegas, I'm anxious to see where the cards fall.
Sure.
No pun intended about Vegas, but just looking forward to seeing where we stand when we go into Talladega next week. If one of those guys has a bad run at Vegas, they're going to have a good run at Talladega. If they don't, they're going to really be in a bad spot.
Sure.
So, and while they may say, "Well, I'm not going to hit him on the racetrack or whatever," you can bet it's in the back of both of their minds. If something comes about and there's an opportunity to do something, that's one thing to tap a driver at a place like Vegas or a short track. It's another thing to try to tap a driver here, because what will happen, not only could you potentially take out that driver that you're going to give a love tap to.
Take out half the field.
That's right. And so it could be, very, very, very bad in a lot of different ways. Taking out teammates. I mean, both of those guys have three teammates, too.
You're right.
So, and they, and Harvick, he's the lone guy.
Yeah.
For Stewart Haas Racing there, but Chase, he's got his guys in there. So
It is an interesting breakdown of the playoff participants if you look at it. I mean, 12 of them right now. 4 Hendrick Motorsports drivers, 4 Joe Gibbs Racing drivers, and 3 Team Penske drivers. I mean, effectively, the entire roster of Hendrick, the entire roster of Gibbs, the entire roster of Penske, and then here's your outlier, which is odd to say because it's Stewart Haas Racing.
Yeah.
With their one.
yeah,
All
it takes is one.
That's true. That is true. And we've talked about it on this show pretty much all year long, in the fact that it seemed like, even Tony Stewart's admitted, it's a down year for them. Such an unusual thing for Stewart Haas Racing to have kind of a down year. Something like this, though, might have just been enough to get everybody from Kevin Harvick, Rodney Childers, and everybody on that team. It might have just been that spark that they needed to ignite them.
Well, the blueprint is there, and it's there by the man who owns the team.
We talked about that too, 2011.
I mean, he wasn't even thought about
No.
in the playoffs. I mean, it was just a disaster year for him, and all of a sudden he caught fire. A win, a second, just boom, 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 boom. These guys never give up, and Tony Stewart is a hard-nosed dude as I've ever met, and Kevin Harvick's the same way.
Yeah.
So, listen, Kevin Harvick didn't forget how to drive a race car. I mean, he won what 9 or 10 times last year. I can't remember exactly, how many, but it was a lot. Yeah. And he's always been a winner. He hasn't forgotten how to win.
No.
Again, could have very easily won last week, but the key to these playoffs though, and what's different from say when Stewart won is you got to win.
Oh,
If you win, you advance.
Everything else takes care of it.
That's exactly right. And so, as the playoffs get further and further, it gets harder for those guys at the back of the playoff train. They need to really win because they're so far behind in points.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to really do well to be able to get up. So now we're talking about having to get from 11th and 12th up to 8th
Or higher.
Yeah. So when you look at drivers, like Harvick, that's why Harvick wanted to win so bad last week. He knew where he was as far as points, and if you look at it, he's 57 points behind right now, Kyle Larson.
Right.
So, he's seated 12th, and the other guys, Christopher Bell and Brad and Logano, right now they're on the outside looking in, entering this round. They've got to do something when they come to Talladega. So,
yeah,
Harvick's been a long time since he's won at Talladega.
Oh, yeah.
Logano, Keselowski, and Blaney,
They all know how to win at Talladega.
they all know how to win. They have won 9 of the last 14 races at Talladega.
Think about that for a minute. I
And-
mean, wow.
And it's not just luck. These guys know how to put themselves in position to win these races. Ryan Blaney, I mean, he's won 2 races by .007 second. And he had to battle his way. He had to nudge Newman out of the way for his first win. He's coming to the line 3 wide for his second win and wins by a foot over Ricky Stenhouse. And of course, Keselowski this past spring pulled it off. So, you look at those guys, especially when you come to Talladega. Just looking beyond Vegas, those guys, they're going to be good, and all the playoff drivers, they know that.
Yeah.
They know that Team Penske is the folks to beat at Talladega.
Well, and there's a reason why they call this the wild card round. Vegas is the most normal race here. You come to Talladega, and then you go from here and you go to the Roval.
That's right.
The last thing that you want to be doing is to be 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th in points and having to win at Charlotte on the Roval.
That's right.
Because it's not an easy track.
And when you look at, just like right now, and I actually was on a Zoom call yesterday with Kyle Larson, and we talked about it. He's seeded 1, and Martin Truex is seeded 2. Besides Christopher Bell, who's only run a few Cup races, they have the worst average finish of all 12. Kyle Larson's best finish ever at Talladega is 6th. And that is in 13 starts. His average finish is 24th. Martin Truex, who won 3 consecutive Xfinity races years ago whenever he was driving for Chance 2, yeah. I forgot the name because it changed. But Martin Truex has 2 fifth-place finishes in 33 starts, averages 22nd place finish. They have been victim a lot of times of the big one. And for some reason, again, Penske, they're able to just sort of put themselves not in a bad position. It seems like. But so we'll see what happens. When I started looking at that, I'm like, Kyle Larson's thinking about it.
Oh, yeah.
Martin Truex is thinking about it.
Sure.
They're sitting great right now. Beautiful. I mean, Larson goes in with a 30-point lead over Truex. But Truex has really got to be thinking about it.
Sure. As a driver, I'll go to Matt on this.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that stick in your head?
Oh, yeah, it sticks in your head, for sure.
What does it do? Does it play games?
I'm not sure if it would play games at a track like Richmond or Bristol or even an intermediate track. But it's got to play
Talladega?
games here because it's a game of luck. It's really a game of luck.
Yeah.
You got to be in the right place at the right time because, like he said earlier, one wrong move, you're done.
Or quite
By any
frankly,
given person.
again, wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Even a move, even something that's not of your making.
Right.
Can
Exactly
take you out.
right.
Correct.
I mean, even like Kyle Larson in the spring race, he didn't even get to make a full lap because the engine blew up before he really started the race.
Yeah.
So now he's really kind of running, in my opinion, he's green this year for making a full race run.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's got to play in your mind a little bit.
And then there's going to be the fun of pre-race.
Yeah.
And we'll probably hear this in Vegas.
Yeah.
But we'll hear it at Talladega.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's face it, we're right next door to the hometown kid. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is hometown race number 2 for Chase Elliott
Yeah.
behind Atlanta. And he's the most popular driver a couple of years running now. And then you get a Kevin Harvick, who has been popular over time, but wow, the reaction at Bristol while he was doing the post-race interview.
It was
But,
loud.
but it was classic Harvick commentary.
Yeah,
There.
let him move.
You know, it was awesome. And again, that's great for the sport.
Sure.
That's great
No
to have
doubt.
a little bit of controversy. So yeah, I'm looking. I guess that the question will be, who will get the biggest round of boos? Will it be Harvick or will it be Kyle Busch? And both of them. Right? Hey, both of them will enjoy it.
Both of them
Whatever.
will, yes.
Yeah.
They both will revel in it. Kyle Busch has really embraced the whole black hat. I'm the bad guy of NASCAR. He really has. And, you know, Kevin Harvick is at a point in his career, and he's earned it, where, you know what? If you're going to boo me, you're going to boo me.
Yeah, I thought
Whatever. It'll roll off his back like a duck.
in 2015 when Dale Jr. won here, and it had been a long time since he'd won a race, the crowd after the race went crazy.
Oh, yeah.
If you
Oh,
remember,
yeah.
Steve,
Yeah.
man,
I do.
they all the fans stayed. No one left.
No.
Because they wanted to see the interview and stuff of him on the big screen from Victory Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't seen that, and then all of a sudden, 4 years later, when Chase won,
Yeah.
it was the same type reaction. You know,
I used to get such a
Lot of
kick out of
fans
it,
for him.
and still do in remembrance. And you've seen this as well. But ever since I first started there, fall 2007, all the way up until he retired, you always waited to see where Dale Jr. was, where he started, and it was always more fun to have him start middle or back of the pack, and watch him work his way through the pack like a surgeon, and he did it so well. And he'd get up into the top 10, and all those people who were seated, now all of a sudden they're a little bit more attentive.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next lap comes around, and he's like third or second, somewhere in the top 5. Now they're on the edge of their seat. And you get down that Alabama Gang super stretch, and all of a sudden he's taking the lead.
Yeah.
Everybody in the grandstand stands up. That was the kind of effect that Dale Jr. had.
Mm-hmm.
Chase Elliott is starting to have that effect at Talladega.
agree.
I even saw glimpses of that at Bristol last week,
Mhm.
with such a tight visual you had in the stadium seating they got up there. Every time he'd get closer and he'd pass the car, everybody would just perk up a little more. He'd get closer, it'd perk up a little more. He'd go to the lead, the whole place would stand up.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, between him and Larson, it wasn't far apart.
Yeah, Larson's gaining a lot of fans. support
His
right now.
his walkout introduction last week with the picking out the driver introduction songs like they do at Bristol, he got the loudest ovation in my opinion.
Let me ask this. I mean, we all know about the situation where how Kyle Larson ended up losing that ride at Chip Ganassi after last year and the whole iRacing thing incident. Him coming back, getting that opportunity with Hendrick Motorsports. You know,
Mm-hmm.
was it as big of a situation really as what we have turned it into? I mean, yeah, you don't want to use the word, don't get me wrong, but at the same point in time, he seems to have recovered pretty nicely.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think what he's done, he's gone through a lot of different processes and stuff, training. He's done a lot of different, a lot of community efforts and this kind. He's done a lot of things, which he was required to do. NASCAR required it, but he's also done a lot of things that he was not required to do. So I really think he was, it really, really affected him as a person. It was something that, he was very, very apologetic for. I think it affected him in a very negative way to himself, and he felt bad. Himself, he felt bad at what he said.
Right.
And so he has really put a lot of effort to try to show people that he is a good person. And he's tried to show the sport. He's tried to show sponsors, his fans, his race team. And he's really focused in on trying to be a better man and be a better race car driver.
Yeah.
And give him props for. I think he's succeeded in both.
Yep.
For where he's at today.
Yeah. And I would be shocked if that number 5 car isn't fully sponsored next year.
It's already fully sponsored.
It's already fully sponsored, yeah.
Yeah.
Hendrick Motorsport or HendrickCars.com. They are selling cars galore. Of course, it's a
They
good
are,
time to be
and I agree
buying
with that.
your
I was
cars
kind of
right
thinking
now.
about something outside of the Hendrick
There-
family.
there might be, but I do know that I read a story somewhere that they have, since that sponsorship started, they have sold thousands and thousands and thousands of vehicles. So it's working for them.
Yeah. NASCAR, there used to be that saying, that phrase within NASCAR, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. For Hendrick, it's working.
No doubt.
Yeah, I still think it works. In various capacities. There's still a fan loyalty to sponsors that are involved in our sport, and there's still a fan loyalty to, the different car makes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think next year it will really go more into overdrive next year with car makes, just because the cars are going to look more like what you see on a showroom floor.
Yeah.
When you see a Camaro, when you see a Camry, when you see a Mustang out there, you're going to be able to tell the difference in them. And I'm super excited. Me as a fan, I've been a fan, for more than 50 years. And I can remember when the cars, you could tell a Mercury from a Ford Thunderbird or a Chevrolet Monte Carlo or a Dodge Plymouth or whatever the case may be. I think next year, NASCAR's done a really nice job as far as going back in that direction, going back to some of its roots. And you guys have seen the next gen car. I think you'll see a little bit more of that, win on Sunday, sell on Monday next year.
Yeah. And we've seen 2 of the 3 makes in trucks reveal their 2022 trucks.
Same preference.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Haven't seen Chevrolets yet. Wonder what Chevy's doing. I bet you it's not far off. Let's just put it that way.
Well, with a Ford F-150 going to the Lightning, Toyota going with a TRD Tundra Pro. That's the model they're basing it off of.
Right.
Which, that front end makes me questionable.
Yeah.
It looks odd.
You and I both looked at it and were like, that doesn't seem like the most aerodynamic, but I imagine they've been in a wind tunnel or two with that.
They're going to find a way.
No doubt.
And then Chevrolet, I'm interested to see what they do their body based off of.
Yep. It'll be very interesting.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with Russell Brandon right here on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. And back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. I'm Steve West with John Myers, Matt Nicholson here. Our regular crew. Add in one Russell Branham, who has been a long-time Talladega person. Has now been kind of, I guess, kicked upstairs, if you will. Director of Media Relations for the Southeast Division of NASCAR.
Again, title. Worth a piece of paper is written on.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, hey.
I enjoy what I do. I've been around for a long time. I've been in the sport now, almost 36 years now, in January. So it's been a long time. It's been a great ride.
Yeah.
Have enjoyed it. Been a fan all my life ever since I was a little boy. And it's great to talk about NASCAR. It's great to talk about NASCAR racing here at Talladega.
Yeah.
I've been able to, when I look at it, I worked 10 years at Darlington, which is where I'm from. That place will always be in my heart, number one. And then to be able to work here for the last 8.5 years, and now working at Daytona for a year and a half, and Homestead, Miami for a year and a half. Pretty good for the resume.
It is.
Those 4 racetracks, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And,
it is.
been blessed to be able to work with a lot of great people over the years, not just drivers, just people in general. Just like you folks here, be able to meet a lot of great people.
Hey, we appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, so, yeah, we got Talladega coming up, obviously, and we're right in the middle of the playoffs, but we have already seen the 2022 Cup Series schedule.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about the tracks that you're in charge of here. Talladega's still got its spot in the playoffs, which it should. Daytona is still the cutoff race. In addition to having the Daytona 500, it is the last race of the regular season. But then Homestead, Miami moves back into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In your position.
Oh, it makes all the difference in the world, I think, for that venue. For so long, that racetrack, was part of, a few years it was part of the stretch run
Right.
to the championship. And then it got moved to the last race for a host of years, 19 years or
19
whatever.
years, yeah.
And it was very, very big for that area, very, very big for that community. I think the community looked at it sort of as a slap in the face whenever it was taken away. But NASCAR's got to do what NASCAR can do for the sport as a whole.
Sure.
And, for years and years, the championship was at Atlanta. Then it was moved here, there, and then finally it went to Homestead for a long time. So it was a great run for them. But if you look at the last 2 years, it's really hard to see the results really because, 2020 was the first year that it was moved off the championship. Well, the race was scheduled in March. Well, then COVID came. It got pushed to June.
We know.
No fans. There was about 1,000 military folks there. And then, of course, you had it, this past year again. We had it again at another time the week after the road course race at Daytona. So you went 2 races at Daytona, one on the oval and then one on the road course. Then you go straight to Miami. Good weather there then.
Sure.
But from a racetrack perspective, probably, you're thinking, okay, we're going to get a lot of our fans from up north to come down and come to Daytona. The thought was, well, they'll just swing by Miami on their way out. But a lot of those fans can't take that much time to do that. So I think going back into playoffs is really, really going to be key. It's going to be the meat and the sandwich in the round of 8. I think I can't wait. I think from a promoter standpoint, it helps just because you're in the playoffs because of the pressures and that kind of thing. And I'll say this, 99% of the drivers love that racetrack.
Sure.
It's a driver's racetrack. I drove around it when I first started doing some stuff with Homestead Miami. I went down there, and I was able to take a pace car out on the track because I want to feel it. If I'm trying to promote it, I want to feel what it's like. I sort of got some of the feel of the way it is at Darlington. Whenever they made the banking and stuff the way that they did, I've driven thousands of laps around Darlington in a pace car, giving track rides, etc. When I first got out there for that, it felt about the same way. Now, granted, the turns are the same on each end there, different at Darlington, one's shorter, one's longer. But I got that sense. And it's an old school type feel. the colors and stuff of the racetrack, the palm trees. There's just something about that place that's just really, really cool. But so you've got that natural feel of the Miami area, but
Yeah.
you've also got an old school feel.
They built that track and they tailored it to the area that it's in.
Correct.
There's no doubt about it. They did a great job of tailoring it to the area that it's in.
Yep.
But it's a good
Mm-hmm.
driver's racetrack.
Yeah.
The racing there is really, really good. You got a lot of passing. You got a lot of people. You know, when tires start wearing, the handling starts going away. Things sort of change, and sometimes the driver comes into play. I think that's why a lot of the drivers like it, because they feel like they come more into play. I think that's why a lot of folks are excited about next year with this next gen car. The drivers will come back more into play. So it'll be
Right.
really interesting to see when you go to those tracks where, you know, like Homestead, where it was already implemented. It's going to be a real driver's test next year.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Notice something here. I mean, Russell can name drop all day long, but he's sitting there talking about dropping pace cars onto tracks. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
No,
come on, man.
Listen. That's one of the thrills. Every time, and I haven't gone to the last 2 Darlington races, unfortunately, just because I've got a lot on my plate.
Sure.
And I just said I can't do it. But I would always go back the last several years and go back there and help the PR guy there, who's no longer there now. But I'd come in and I'd work 3 days for him because I knew more about the track than he did. But he's my buddy. But on Monday, on Labor Day morning, a couple of my employees here at Talladega would come with me. And I would take him out on the racetrack in the pace car. I said, "You want to feel something?"
How did we never get that offer?
It is just a great track.
I'm just saying, you're the one that actually got me over there as a PA announcer.
Man.
Well, how did I never end up getting a ride in the pace car with you?
I think
Glossed over the whole thing.
Well, well, the next morning, see, you could have come over, and I'd have been glad to do it.
It's on me.
but the next
I
morning
never got the invite, right?
But the next morning we were so half asleep because we saw the sun come up leaving out of that place.
Yeah,
That's right.
We
was
called it the
there.
24 hours of Darlington.
That's right. That's what it was.
It was.
Like, I never went to sleep. Kylie and Allison went to the hotel, took a shower, changed clothes, and just came back. We took the rides and we hit the road. But boy, oh boy, it's a fun racetrack. It's the same type thing here at Talladega. You know, you get out there and you just imagine yourself. You know, we're going 100 miles an hour out here.
Yeah.
And think about it, the drivers are going twice that fast.
Yeah.
And think about 40 other dudes or 39 other dudes around you having to maneuver.
Yeah.
And it's all mind games and are inches away.
Oh,
It's
gosh, yeah.
every rate. Both of these tracks are they're both incredible venues. Daytona, the same type thing, man. I went around in a one of the NASCAR experience cars down there because I wanted to get a feel of it. The feel of it compared to Talladega, a lot different.
Oh, sure. And
A lot different. And I didn't really believe it till I tried it. But, Daytona's a lot tighter.
Yeah.
So I could understand when the drivers say handling comes a lot more into play there because you can feel it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You really can feel it. But every track has its own identity.
Matt and
Right.
I did the driver experience at Talladega this spring, right before I had surgery.
Yeah.
In retrospect, that might not have been the smartest thing in the world, but I survived it, so that's the good thing.
All that matters.
But, we've done the situation, and John rode along with me the first time that we ever did it was, and I'm sure that's coming back, in the opportunity to take your car around Talladega.
Yep.
But you're limited. The most you're going to get up to is about 90 to 100, somewhere in that area, which is an experience in and of itself because as you're going through the turns, if you're at 85 plus, effectively you don't have to turn the steering wheel. The car tracks around the track all by itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't know what to expect. You start getting up to around 150, which was what we were limited to in the short time that we were there. I did one lap at just slightly over 150 miles an hour, which was cool. But you realize, you feel the G-forces, you feel how much you actually have to turn the car and everything. And I'm sitting here thinking, after I got out and I got the sheet and I found out how much I had actually gone, and I'm thinking, wow, these guys still have 40 to 50 miles per hour to go. And they've got, like you said, 39 other guys around them.
Because you literally look at that sheet and you're going, is that all?
Kind
That's
of,
your first
yeah.
reaction. Is that all?
Is that all I did? I felt like I was going faster.
Did you guys look for any of the skid marks on the track while you were doing that?
I was
To sort of
very
throw a
aware
fear
of
into
that
you?
kind of stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
You ever notice how if you go and look at them, you'll see the skid marks. They come down the track, and all of a sudden they go back up
Yes.
because of the centrifugal force and the gravity.
Yeah.
A car comes down, it always goes back up, and that's why you have the big one.
Yeah.
The car goes back up into the doggone, the
Yeah.
driving lane. So interesting.
Yeah, there were things that I was very aware of.
I'm
You know,
glad
you were
guys
very
did.
aware of the start-finish line, and you were aware of all the donuts of all the people that had celebrated.
Yep.
But, yeah, as you're going through 1 and 2 or you're going through 3 and 4 and you start seeing skid marks, like you were saying, up and down the track, you're like, wow.
I'm glad that I'm glad you guys did that.
I just
Okay.
wanted to add, the only thing I was aware of was the wall, which was like 1 foot to my right.
There you go.
That was
You have to be able to. Dale Jarrett, when I first started at the racetrack here in Talladega, I called Dale Jarrett and I said, "Could you come down here and do some track rides for some media for me?" And that's
Right.
when the Dale Jarrett experience was going on. He said, "Yeah." So he came down. We had a bunch of different rides. I remember at the very end, we were done, and I went up to him and I said, "We're done." And he said, "No, we're not." I said, "What?" He said, "We're done." He said, "Go put on a uniform." I said, "I'm not riding with you." He said, "Go put it," because I've known Dale for a long time. He helped me a lot at Darling. He says, he said, "How can you be the promoter of this racetrack and you've never been around it at a fast pace? You don't understand it." And I said, "You know what? You got a point." So I went and threw on a uniform and then put on a helmet and got in there with him, and we went around, and it was awesome. I mean, he never lifted the throttle, and the one he had was souped up where it would go very fast because he had told him, "I want to go fast."
Yep.
And it was awesome. But he was right.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to go around it. It's a lot different than a pace car. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going out there at 180, 190 miles an hour. It was bad to the bone. So I'm glad you guys did that. So
Yeah.
you
That
guys
was-
were talking on the PA,
Yeah.
That was his first time. That was actually my fourth time doing it.
And I'd
But
do
when-
it again for a longer
When
time.
friends and family ask me about that, how many racetracks have you been around, or this, or that, or the other? And I start naming them off, and they're like, "Well, how'd that feel?" Here's the saying that I always tell to them: "You can't respect it until you feel it.
Correct. You're right.
You can't respect it until you feel it."
Yeah.
You can talk about it and talk
Yep.
about reporters can say this, that. But until you've gone out and been around and experienced it, you don't have the credentials. to
Yeah,
talk
I mean,
about it.
I have said, and I said this to you, and a couple of years ago we had the program at Talladega where the four of us,
Yeah.
myself and Matt Coulter and Grady Sapp, and you and me, Matt, we were all featured in the program as PA announcers, and
Yep.
I said in there that I've been there since the fall race of 2007, every single race, and I've told Brian and I've told you this. I plan to be there until you guys name that PA booth after me. Okay? Every single time I drive by it to come out here and do this show, whether coming here or leaving and going back home, I have to look at the track every single time. It's a magnet for me.
Yep.
But doing that this year
Yep.
added an extra level of reverence for that track because, again, it went by like that. But while you're behind the wheel and you start hitting those marks where the guy that's in your ear is telling you, okay, here's where you're going and so on. Now all of a sudden you got a couple of minutes to kind of realize where you're going. Oh my gosh, I'm actually on the Alabama Gang super stretch that I've been talking about on this PA. Now I'm crossing the start-finish line that I have seen so many drivers by literally inches, centimeters in some cases, grab wins. And I've also seen drivers, including heroes of mine, not the least of which is Tony Stewart, and I've mentioned this, not only win there, which I was lucky enough to be on the PA when that happened, but I've seen him go upside down there.
Yep.
Yeah. It really makes you respect. It's like you're saying, you're sort of in amazement.
Mhm.
And a lot of drivers will say, "Well, Talladega is not that difficult to drive." When you're out there by yourself, it's not.
Sure.
But guess what? When you put 40 drivers out there under a blanket, it is the ultimate mind game. It is the ultimate thinking man's game, thinking driver's name, if we have a female behind the wheel, as we do in the Truck Series.
A couple of them, actually.
A couple of them, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're out there, you really got to think. And that's why Dale Earnhardt Sr. was so good. You know, when they always said he could see the air. There are other drivers out there that can see it because they're thinking about it. It's the ultimate test
Right.
of thought process.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it makes you appreciate. Think about this. You're out there inches apart from another driver, and you're having to make all these quick decisions.
Yeah.
Boom, boom,
Mhm.
boom, boom. And some of the drivers are just darn good at it, as we talked about. Penske drivers darn good at it. Denny Hamlin, darn good at it.
he is.
There's
no
a
doubt.
lot. I'll tell you someone else who's good at it, or the team that's good at it, is Colleague Racing in the NASCAR
Oh, my
Xfinity
gosh.
Series.
You are not kidding.
Man,
And to think that they're going Cup racing next year,
Can I just tell you something?
by all means.
sure.
Colleague Racing has won 5 of the last 6 races at Daytona and Talladega. Justin Haley has won 4 of those.
Yeah. And he's the guy that they're doing as the full-time Cup Series
That's
driver next
right.
year when they debut.
Jeb Burton won at our race here, back in April. But isn't that amazing? The dominance in 2020 and 2021 at Daytona and Talladega. Only other driver to win has been Austin Cindric.
Yeah.
He won the opener at Daytona this year.
And guess who he drives for? Oh, that's right, Team Penske.
Correct.
Didn't we just talk about how good they are there?
I mean,
Yeah.
even when you go back to 2019, Ross Chastain winning the summer race at Daytona.
Yeah.
Back to then.
Justin Haley can see
Yeah.
the air, my friends.
I want to go back to this, and just before we take a break, there's a show on ESPN called Around the Horn.
Mm-hmm.
The original host of that was a guy by the name of Max Kellerman. Max Kellerman's now one of the morning guys and
Yeah.
a commentator
Yeah.
who I've lost a lot of respect for. And I lost a lot of respect for him back when he was doing Around the Horn, and I'll tell you why. I happened to be watching as the NASCAR season was approaching, and Daytona 500 was coming up. And if you're not familiar with Around the Horn, it's him moderating with a bunch of newspaper columnists about different sports stories. And here comes the Daytona 500. I'm like, okay, what are they going to talk about when it comes to the Daytona 500? There was one guy, I think it was Tim Calishaw, who was big into it. He was talking about it. Everybody else kind of down.
Calishaw's covered some NASCAR races
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Max Kellerman came on there and said, why would I be interested in doing something that I do every day in rush hour traffic? And they went to break.
Ooh.
And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you know what? You're a flippin' moron. If you're trying to equate what they do at Daytona at 200 miles an hour, 195, 200 miles per hour, yes, and only 40 cars, to what you do in New York City doing 5 miles per hour as you crawl along, you're a flaming idiot, and you ain't got a clue. And you know what? I'll hold to that to this day, and I'll call him out on the air right now. Max Kellerman is an idiot. And with that, we take a break right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back.
CRN. We are not as news intensive as we tend to be because we got Russell Brandom in studio. We're about to switch him out for the president of Talladega Superspeedway, Brian Crichton. That'll be something else entirely. But Russell is Director of Media Relations for the Southeast Division, so that means he not only works for Talladega, he works for Daytona, he works for Homestead Miami. And you have had the chance to note, anyway, and we've talked a lot about the next generation stock car, how much different it looks. And that has been something that I have heard, and I don't know whether you have or not, about the looks of the car, how they kind of got away from it. And in some ways they needed to. I mean, let's face it, the death of Dale Earnhardt changed a lot of things. And a lot of those things were changed for the better. We haven't had a death in NASCAR since then because they have really amped up the safety of it. But a lot of people felt like they got too far away from how the car that they call on the track is different from the one that's on the road. They are doing a lot to change that back.
Yeah, I mean, you look at over time. You know, you can go back in time. You know, if you remember, let's go back to the 1960s.
Oh, let's do it.
Whenever we had the
the
Dodge Daytona and the Plymouth Superbird, they made these cars, and NASCAR said in order for you to compete in those, you've got to have at least 500 on a showroom floor.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. They made those. Fast forward to the change that you're talking about in more recent years. I mean, you remember the years where we had the wings on the back.
I do.
You know, and you had the tandem drafting and stuff here at Daytona and Talladega. The racing probably wouldn't nearly as good as had been hoped. So I think over time there's been a lot of different changes. It's sort of like putting a Band-Aid on something. You know, let's try this, let's try that, but this is a complete transformation to a new type of vehicle. So there's not the tweaks. You know, when we got this car, let's make a tweak on it this year. Let's make this, that. You know, over time, they're small sort of tweaks. They're not really major changes. They are swinging for the fence here, and they've come up with something that, again, that I think is going to be tremendous. Me as a race fan, I've never been this excited about a new car for the next season as I have since I've been a kid.
Right.
Really, or back into the 80s. Everything that is detailed on these cars, even the fact putting basically up underneath the car. You know, if you slide up underneath these cars, you're not going to be able to see anything but a flat sheet of something because it's covering up all the mechanisms of the car, so air will not be able to get up inside those different components of an engine and everything that could help maybe lift that car off the ground or whatever, which will also make better racing.
Sure.
It's going to keep that car lower to the ground, you know, or down.
Yeah.
And all the things that they are doing is all to make the driver be more in control of that race car. And so people, all right, let's go back and we talk about the 60s, the 70s, you know, the Pearson, the Pettys, the Allisons, the Yarboroughs, you know, oh, the racing was this, it was that, where the driver was more in control.
Right.
Well, the driver is going to be more in control next year. You know, the hope is you're not going to hear, oh, the dirty air, oh, the aero, oh, all these things that we've heard over time, over the last several years. Hopefully that's going to be taken out, and it's going to make the driver be more in control, and these cars are going to be able to drive better and also be able to make passes. If I come up on a car now, sometimes it's hard to be able to make that pass because of the aero and the air and this kind of thing. If I've got a better car next year, I'm going to be able to go out and maneuver and pass that dude in front of me. And that's the whole idea, is to be able to bring the driver more back into play. And that's what I think NASCAR's hit on.
After the Daytona race, they took, 8 cars and 8 drivers?
8,
out there. Did you have the chance to talk to any of those drivers after that?
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not. Unfortunately, I had already come back here. I came back here that week. That was about a week and a half after the Coke Zero Sugar 400. So, but I've talked to just some different folks, you know, within the sport. And again, I think, you know, there's still some things to be done there. They're still working on everything. You know, everything's not completely finalized with the things that they're doing and trying and everything else. But they'll be ready for Daytona. And guess what? it's just like anything. When you bring something brand new to the table, there may have to be some tweaks along the way.
Sure.
It's. I'm sure whenever you guys first started this radio show, you weren't perfect the first time out, right?
Speak for yourself. Oh.
Still not. But but sometimes they'll get it right. They're in that. They're on that road and that path to deliver something to the fans that is going to be really, really good. It's going to be less costly for the race teams. To me, it looks like it's going to be a win-win situation. And again, as a track promoter, with working with Brian out here at Talladega, working with Frank Kelleher and Al Garcia down in Daytona and Homestead, there's a huge feeling of excitement from a track perspective that the racing is going to be really good next year. How much better can it be at Talladega? I don't know, because by God, it's unbelievable now. I mean,
it is.
Hang on to your seat, but the racing is there's no better racing in our sport than at Talladega Superspeedway, lap after lap after lap.
And if you can give the drivers even that much more control over what they got going when they've got their hands on that wheel.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Ooh, hello.
Hey, I'll give you a quick stat. How many races how many times has the leader at the white flag at Talladega not been the winner? The guy who led the white flag did not take the checkered. How many times has that happened?
I was thinking like the percentages are well above 75%.
No, you're a little bit too high.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna say 60.
No. 29 times the guy who led at the white flag.
Wow.
Okay.
Did not.
I have to
win.
admit that's more than what I would have thought.
And there's a lot of times that the guy, and I don't know because I have to go back and do a lot of research, but the guy who was second may have not have won either.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that just shows you the
Yep.
sheer competition of what happens. And again, there are passes. There could be sometimes 3-4 passes in one lap at Talladega.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lead changes are only calculated at the start-finish line.
Yeah.
So that's why I preface that.
But there was one year where you noted the number of lead changes just throughout the race, not necessarily official at the line.
Yeah, it's like 225, 235 passes for the lead in one race, because
Welcome to Talladega.
Well, we have the most officially at the line of
Right.
88 lead changes.
That's also true, yeah.
Okay, and that was done twice. But over 225 lead changes. There have been several races that have been right around that area. Just passes for the lead that were not just at the start-finish line.
Yeah. And at the white flag, if your driver happens to be, say, running 7th, don't give up.
No.
Don't
You know-
give
Oh
up.
no.
And Brian will elaborate a little bit more on this. You buy a ticket for a seat at Talladega, very rarely is your fanny sitting in it.
That's true.
You are right.
That's
I
true.
mean, because you're on your feet, I think, because it is just that exciting. It's an incredible, from a competition standpoint. It's just unbelievable. It's the greatest out there. And again, Brian will be able to elaborate a little bit more just from a fan perspective, but just from the sheer competition. I've been involved in sports. I've been a fan of this sport all my life. I still am amazed, and even though I work in it, there'll be times during a race at Talladega, I'll just go out and I just want to watch it.
Oh, sure.
I just want to go out and
No
watch
doubt.
it for 10 or 15 laps just by myself and just take it all in.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is just that breathtaking.
Well, and I'll say this, and Matt and John, who have all been up in the tower as well, can attest to this. At some point in time during every single race, I have taken an opportunity to step outside of the booth and just listen as they come across the start-finish line, or in this case, come through the tri-oval now that we're in the new tower, and just listen to them in this pack of 35 to 40 cars, however many that there are. And just to like you said, take in that atmosphere.
It's
I used
unbelievable.
to have the opportunity, and hopefully we'll get back to the point where we do some practices, but we used to do Cup Series practice on Saturday.
Yeah.
Back in the first couple of years that I was there.
Yep.
And the radio station I worked on at that particular time, I used to call in to one of the shows, which was a car-based show, Jim Moore, Shop Talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to call in right in the middle of it and I would make sure that I called in during practice so that I would be stepping outside and I would be right over the start-finish line. And I'd be talking to him, and then I'd say, oh, wait a minute, and I'd just hold the phone out and let him hear the cars as they went by.
It's
Because it came across so clear, even being up on top of the tower.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's something to be said about it. And here's the
Yeah.
other side of it. Now it's a little different because we line them up single file on pit road when we do the command.
Mhm.
When I first went there back in 2000, 2001, 2002, when I was first going there, they didn't do that. They were lined up side by side down on the far end of pit road.
Right.
Double file.
And we were sitting within a section or two of the start-finish line when I was there as a fan. 40 to 43 cars start their engines all the way down at the other end of pit road. You don't hear it at the start-finish line. That's how big Talladega is.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
I can tell you this: next year, you'll hear them
I can't
with,
wait.
with the engine package and stuff they've got. The engines are much louder, and it will take you back to the 70s.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be awesome.
Same here.
Give a big shout out to one Patrick Barfield, who was our
Sure.
guest services VP.
Yeah,
He's
I know
listening right now,
Hey, Patrick.
and he just sent me a note: the biggest, baddest racetrack on the planet. That's Talladega.
You know it.
Well, and let's face it, Barney Hall said it best, and that quote's still sitting up there.
In that tower.
In
They
that
don't
tower,
race them anywhere
like
like they
at
do at Talladega.
That's right.
Barney Hall said it the best.
Amen.
He
No
did.
doubt about it. We're not trying to take anything away from Talladega. Don't get us wrong. But you are Daytona and Homestead as well. Tickets already on sale for the 500.
Absolutely.
When
Tickets
did
are on sale every day.
Homestead already
Every day.
for
That's exactly right.
for
Just go
2022?
to DaytonaNationalSpeedway.com, HomesteadMiamiSpeedway.com, or TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. All three great venues. But our focus right now is on Talladega.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Daytona 500 will be here before you know it as well, and looking forward for Homestead next fall.
From what I understand, there are already people that are lined up ready to get into the campgrounds.
Believe it or
Talladega.
not, on Wednesday afternoon, the first truck was pulling the camper, but he was sitting there where he's on the pole.
That's
He's
crazy.
ready to go.
He's
Man,
ready to
that's
go. And it's right there going into the North Campground, just sitting right there on Speedway Boulevard, ready to go. And yesterday, I think there was 3 or 4 that were there. We don't open that area until Monday.
Wow.
On the pole, you get to go select wherever you want to go.
There you go.
That's
Love
right.
it. Russell,
Thanks for letting me be on again,
Hey,
guys.
thank
Appreciate
you
it.
so much. You're welcome
Yep.
at any time. You know that.
Thank you
Even
very
though
much.
you're a world traveler now.
Hey, love being here and appreciate what you guys do, your support for the sport, and it's refreshing to know that we've got a lot of great supporters here in this area, and I'm sure Brian will talk about it a little bit more. But if you don't have plans yet to come see us next week, make your plans.
Yeah,
you
we'll get
won't
into-
regret it.
We'll get into more details with that with the president of Talladega Superspeedway, Brian Crichton, when we come back. You're listening to CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
What's the
commercial, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back into the show. Real quick, want to remind you about our good friend Michael Hart and Ox Foundation Solutions, because if you have any kind of a situation or think you have any kind of a situation with your house that might be a foundation problem, you need to call Michael. Michael's the guy. If you're anywhere in the state of Alabama, you need to give him a call, 205-362-6419. If you've got any inkling, if you've got dampness or standing water in your basement or crawl space or garage or whatever, or if you're having problems opening up or shutting doors or windows, things like that, that's an indication you might have a foundation problem, and you need to make sure of it. So when you call Michael, 205-362-6419, or email him, mike@oxfoundations.com. Again, anywhere in the state of Alabama, he'll come out, give you a no-cost, no obligation written foundation assessment as to what, if anything, is wrong with your house. If there's nothing wrong with your house, you got it in writing, you've got peace of mind, and you go your separate ways, and that's that. On the other hand, if there is something wrong, he details it, and he gives you an estimate as to exactly how much it's going to cost to fix it. Now, the truth of the matter is it's not going to get better if you leave it alone. So get it fixed, get it done right, and save yourself potentially tens of thousands of dollars. And we'll save you even a little bit more. You tell Michael that you heard about it right here on the Championship Racing Network, and you mention the promo code WEST. He'll give you an extra 15% off of that price that he just quoted you. There's no reason not to set it up. It's free to set up the appointment and have him come out and take a look at the house. 205-362-6419, or set up the appointment by email. Mike@oxfoundations.com. Remember that promo code WEST for the extra 15% off, just in case. We don't hope that there's something wrong, but if there is,
Right.
be Ox strong and get it fixed right.
Absolutely.
All right, so we go from Russell Branham, who is the regional guy for NASCAR, to the guy whose day-to-day job is to be over everything at Talladega Superspeedway. And Patrick, by the way, be on your best behavior because your boss is now listening.
That's right, Patrick. So get to work. You're probably not even out at the racetrack right now.
Yeah, well, we appreciate him listening. That being said, we're a week away from the festivities there. They may be racing in Las Vegas, but the work does not stop at Talladega. You guys aren't sitting there watching the racing. You guys are getting prepared for them to come right here and invade us.
That's right. And, not only are we a week out from racing, but we're 2 days out from starting to load our campgrounds in. And I know, Russell, and you had mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
They started showing up on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of excitement in the air for racing at Talladega Superspeedway. So the fans are already coming out, and the campers, they just cannot wait.
Yeah, there usually is. That's the fun part about it, And even going back to the days before I was a PA announcer out there, and I used to do traffic reports. On Monday, we would talk about not only the traffic jams in and around in Birmingham and, the malfunction junction.
Yeah.
We would talk about the guys and the ladies in the RVs leaving on Monday. And
Right.
if you were heading from Birmingham to Atlanta, expect maybe some people to kind of slow you down, because there was a lot of people that, made sure that they took as much advantage of being at Talladega as they can. I mean, Talladega is not just there to be at the race, which is significant enough in and of itself. There's an atmosphere. It's a community of fans who they've been coming here not just for seasons. We're talking potentially for decades.
Generations.
Yeah,
No doubt.
Absolutely. And it's an unofficial family reunion.
Yeah.
It's we get these calls all the time into our ticket office, and they'll say, "Hey, I need to renew my campsite. I'm in Geico Blue. Hey, has Bob called in yet? He's next to me on the right. Has George called in to me because he's next to me on the left? So I need to make sure they're renewing. If not, I'm going to call them right now to make sure they call you." And so that's how important it is for just the camaraderie, the family, the get together.
No doubt.
It's
No doubt.
2 weeks a year. It becomes one of the top 10 cities in all of Alabama.
Yeah.
And it's it's because of just everybody that just comes in. 70% of our fans, over 70% of our fans, come from outside the state of Alabama. And so it's a tourist destination. It's a NASCAR destination. It's a world destination.
Yeah.
Back pre-COVID, 28 different countries would show up here at Talladega.
I was trying to remember. There was at one point in time, and it might have been the one, I can't remember what the number of countries was, but I want to say it was close to 30 countries and all 50 states were represented. You think about that. That's people coming in from Alaska and Hawaii as well.
Well, now Russell does have a cousin or an uncle, I think, that lives in Hawaii. So if we're missing that one, we call him up and ask him to buy 2 tickets. No, just kidding.
Just to make sure.
But no, you're exactly right. All 50 states are typically, and the District of Columbia are all typically represented. And then it's 25 to 28, 30 countries somewhere in there that come out. And so they come as far as New Zealand, Australia. I mean, Talladega is a brand name all across the world.
Yeah.
And
not
they're
many
all
tracks
coming here
can say
to
that.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
truth be told.
That's true.
And I was lucky enough last month to go up to Indianapolis. I took in the NASCAR Indycar doubleheader weekend. And there is something to be said about being on the grounds, being in the grandstand, looking at what is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But at the same point in time, I not a slam on Indianapolis. This is actually, for me, realizing exactly how lucky I am in doing what I do at Talladega Superspeedway. I get the same exact feeling when I'm sitting in the tower up at Talladega.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. There's a new owner of Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Oh yeah, we've heard of that guy.
I've heard of that guy.
Roger Penske.
That's right. Yeah, he's kind of a big deal in racing.
Roger has told us that standing on that spotter stand, standing on top of that tri-oval tower area, is the best view in all of motorsports.
Yeah.
Looking out over Talladega, looking at Cheehaw Mountain, just looking at that beautiful scenery there, he says that is the best view in all of motorsports. I just got a little bit of goosebumps.
And for him to say that,
yeah, for Roger
him to say
Penske to say that,
right?
Especially with a view of standing on top of that pagoda
Uh-huh.
at the most iconic, arguably the most iconic track in the world, that says a lot.
Yeah.
It says a ton.
But
Now,
the
a
thing-
little disclaimer, it was before he bought Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Good
so
point.
it's
That's true. Great
He
point.
might have changed, but still, I mean, for him to say that, and even before he owned Indianapolis Motor
Right.
Speedway, with
Yeah.
all of his years in racing and all of his travels and all the things he's done, to say that is the best view in all of motorsports is amazing.
I will say this, at the risk of angering Roger Penske, who I know is listening. And this is not of his doing, obviously, because it was owned by the Holman family before that, Holman George family before that. In talking with just people that were in the stands, this has nothing to do with Indianapolis Motor Speedway workers. Some of them were actually, you get those who have been there for a long time, and then you got the first time people like myself. That was the first time I've been there to see a race. And they said, I was expecting something different. And I kind of went, okay, what do you mean? They said, well, the sight lines aren't all that great. And if you think about it, as much as we talk about the pagoda and all of those, infield stands that they built there, when you're building a road course that goes into the infield and you're sitting on the outside,
Yeah.
it does.
Right.
I hate to say it. It kind of ruins the sight lines. And we got up as high as we possibly could from where we were sitting, and we were sitting right above, really more towards the turn one side of the start-finish line.
Mm-hmm.
We were so far away from turn 1 and 2 that we lost them before they got to turn 1 at the end of the straight, and we didn't see them again until turn 7.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we take you to Talladega, where you have no such problem like that.
Nope.
Anywhere.
Except for maybe the scoring pylon, which, as they're going 195, 200 miles per hour, that's a blink of an eye. You're not missing anything.
Yeah.
Talladega's got great sight lines.
No doubt.
And that's what we love about it, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the people love about it. And we haven't had the chance to do this since COVID started, but we're able to say this. We hope to get back to the big one on the boulevard. But in the meantime, just about everything else is open.
Yeah, just about everything else is open. We are back to 100% capacity in our grandstands, 100% capacity in our camping areas. All campgrounds are going to be open, including our 3 free campgrounds for the first time since COVID hit. And, we're excited about it. Suites are all open. We're trending higher in sales for this coming up race than we did in October of 2019. And that was a huge race for us because that was Talladega Transformation. That was our big $50 million project on
That's when we fully unveiled everything.
Yeah.
It was like the ribbon cutting.
Yeah, that just shows the excitement. I mean, we're not comparing October 2021 to October 2020 because there's just no comparison. So we're always, comparing to 2019. And we're above in every area. We're above in infield camping. grandstands, suites. Talladega Garage Experience is doing great because people saw it that one time, and it's just such an amazing experience in there as well. So we're excited. Obviously NASCAR has to continue to protect that competition element. They've
Sure.
got to keep them moving all the way to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Get crown 3 champions out in Phoenix, but other than that, we're pretty much going to be back to normal, and it shows by people showing up on Wednesday to start loading in our campgrounds.
You talked about the Talladega Garage Experience, which is part of the Big Bill's Garage, and that is back open.
That is back open, so all garage doors will be open again. We're actually doing something a little bit different this go around because the Cup cars are only racing on Sunday. There's no practice or qualifying,
Right.
So we're actually going to garage the trucks inside of Talladega Garage Experience on Saturday.
Nice.
That
And
is
then on
nice.
Sunday, once the trucks move out, the Cup cars will move in Saturday night, so the Cup cars will be in there on Sunday. We're trying some couple different things too. We're going to do driver introductions through our Victory Lane area
Right.
of Talladega Garage Experience for the Truck Series. We're going to have a red carpet for our Xfinity Series drivers to walk through Talladega Garage Experience on Saturday, and then we're going to go back to our traditional Sunday pre-race ceremony. So we're trying
Pretty
some
cool.
new things. We're
I like
adding
it.
some new
I
things.
like that.
We got a bunch of new welcome gifts too, and different things we're doing for the fans as well.
And we talked about the fact that it's back open. For those people who have not been at Talladega for a while, how would you describe the garage experience?
I heard a lot of people walking through it in October of 2019, and they said it has this amusement park feel because it immerses you into the sport. We've created different destinations all the way along through the path of Talladega Garage Experience. So we have a game zone, we've got a watch zone, we've got a kids zone, kids playground for the kids. Of course, Big Bill's is the 35,000 square foot indoor area that's got a giant screen and light show and a whole bunch of other things. Victory Lane is part of Talladega Garage Experience, so if you purchase that Talladega Garage Experience, you can also see and watch Victory Lane celebrations that happen.
Yeah.
We have a stage that's in there that we bring drivers and other people from the industry out for question and answers. We really wanted to immerse the fan into that overall experience. So the garages are right there. It puts you under the same roof. There's a 4-foot fence that's between you and the nose of the car, and the car is probably about 5 feet away. So we really have put the fan into the clubhouse or into that garage, which is just unbelievable access for a fan to be able to have.
And Matt and I, John, have you had the chance to? You haven't had the chance to be out there. Matt and I have had a couple of opportunities to be out there and be part of the garage experience. We've sampled some of the food.
Good grief. Woo.
This isn't your
Great.
typical cold cheeseburger that you might get at some football stadium.
No.
We're talking about some really, really well done, tasty food.
Yeah, and not only is the food delicious, but it's all value priced as well.
Yeah.
So
That's
water is
great.
$2, Coca-Cola is $2, beers are $3, and they're not the 12-ounce beers either. They're the 16-ounce beers.
Yeah.
A hot dog's $2, a cheeseburger with fries is $4, chicken fingers with fries are $4. So that's just inside of our Talladega Garage Experience, but it's one of the things that we wanted to do to make it more family friendly in that area. So you could bring a family of 4 out and eat for under $30. And each gets a meal, each gets a drink, and so that's something that we wanted to do too, just to encourage the families to come out, to create that next fan, to expose the younger generation to the sport, get them excited about it. Provide them all those different social areas where they can play on the playground, see the race cars, see the drivers, see the crew chiefs and crew. So it worked in 2019, and then COVID hit, but
Yeah.
We're excited to have it back open again, and we're doing a lot of other great things. You mentioned Big One on the Boulevard. Unfortunately, he's not going to be there on Friday night because the drivers aren't coming in until Saturday night or Sunday. But we're doing some different things. We actually have a rodeo. We have a rodeo that's going to happen inside of our infield on Friday night.
Sweet.
So,
Interesting.
if anybody wants to ride a bull, let me know. I know the guys that can put you on a bull.
I think I'm
I
gonna pass.
volunteer Matt for that.
Or a rodeo clown. We've already volunteered Russell for the rodeo clown thing. But then also on Friday night after the rodeo.
I hate to hang on just a second.
Okay,
I
okay.
hate to say this, but man, there are so many comments that I want to make when it comes to saying Russell and rodeo clown, but I'm going to leave them alone because I like Russell a lot.
I need to find somebody that's good with. I need to find somebody that's good with Photoshop, or something that we can make a little GIF out of Russell as a rodeo clown. So if there's anybody out there that can do that, give me a call and let me know. But we're also doing a fireworks show. We're doing a 10, 12-minute fireworks show on Friday night. We're going to make sure all the bulls are put away and they're all. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Make sure all the
you're
bulls,
allowed.
all the bulls are put away and they're all secured, so we don't have a stampede down Talladega Boulevard.
Ooh, that would
But
be
we
bad.
are going to have a fireworks show, and it's something
Yeah.
that we wanted, for all of the campgrounds to be
Yeah.
able to see.
Yeah.
We've got some different welcome things, some surprise and delight things we'll be doing throughout the weekend for our campers, for our fans in the stands, and for everything else. We really want to make sure the fans realize that we know how important they are and that we're welcoming
Yeah.
them back. And it hasn't hurt anybody more than us
Right.
that we've had to go through
Yeah.
this COVID and
Yeah.
had these restrictions. So to be able to open it back up is what we've all been waiting for.
Doubleheader day next Saturday, Truck Series Xfinity, and then Cup Series on Sunday. Tickets are still available.
Tickets are still available. Yep.
How do they go?
You can go 877-GO-TO DEGA if you'd like to talk to a representative, or Talladega Super Speedway, and you can browse through all of the different options that are available, and then it'll walk you through the ticket process online as well. So 877-GO-TO-DEGA or TalladagaSuperspeedway.com.
Talking with Brian Crichton, who's the president of Talladega Superspeedway, and as it turns out, our boss. I get to say that.
I always say I'm just part of the team, so we're all team members together.
Yeah,
right.
but still, you're the boss. I answer to you, man. You're the one that said, "Hey, you coming back?" Yes. So you're the
And
boss.
we appreciate that.
Absolutely. Talking about a rodeo. That right there. That's Talladega.
That is Talladega.
That is Talladega. I like that.
It is no doubt. I mean, that brings back flashbacks to the USC fight they had the fighting match they had a few years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was 18, maybe. I think something like that.
The things that Talladega does that literally no other track on the planet does.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, every track tries to have their own personality. There's no doubt about it. Texas Motor Speedway, I think, does it quite well. But Texas still, they're following Talladega's lead.
They really are. I saw that firsthand in June. They really are. There's no doubt about that.
I get a kick out of it, and I should have done it at Indianapolis. I should have, really. Instead, I was flying the CRN flag. But I should have worn a Talladega shirt at Indianapolis.
I would have given you one.
Trust me, I got a few.
I've got quite a few, too.
But that being said, anytime I have gone anywhere, first year that we did Darlington, they didn't have Darlington shirts ready for us. We wore Talladega shirts.
We wore them on Saturday. You remember? I think we got them on Sunday.
we got them on Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah.
They made that quick change. Huh?
They did.
It was Richmond. They didn't have our shirts.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah.
But as we were walking from our car at Darlington, which was a great spot in the media center,
Oh, yeah.
and then we had to walk through the tunnel and go all the way down to the grandstands and go up into the tower. How many people? Dozen people stopped us, talked about Talladega.
Yeah.
You work at Talladega? Yeah, I work at Talladega. Man, can't wait to get back there.
From that short of a distance, I would say it was easily 25 plus.
Yeah.
Easy.
And the same thing at Richmond. Once we got the credentials and everything, we were parked on the outside, but we were parked within sight of where we were going to go up and get up into the tower. Same thing. You wear a Talladega shirt, and they're like, "Oh, you work at Talladega?" Yeah, I do.
He was talking about the worldwide notoriety.
Absolutely.
I wore a Talladega T-shirt home flying from Honolulu back to Atlanta. Had a layover in Seattle. Landed in Seattle. It was like 9:10 p.m. Pacific time. In the airport terminal in Seattle. I've been there before. You know that place? Yeah,
A little bit.
just a little. I, kind of worked there, helped the guys out, and I live about 5 miles away. Nice. Keeps walking.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm like, my wife looked at me. She said, "Did that just happen?" I said, "It did."
It did.
Happens all
It
over the
did.
place, and you probably noted it just maybe even more than us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like that Roll Tide or War Eagle.
Sure.
When you're out, it's like Talladega, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, absolutely, we get that. But
Exactly.
Earlier and Barney Hall says they don't race them anywhere in the world,
Absolutely.
like they do
No
at
doubt.
Talladega. But we also have another saying. So we've got the world class and the best in class racing, but we also say this is more than a race.
Bingo.
This is Talladega.
Yeah.
Because of all of those different activities that the team at Talladega puts on for the fans.
Yeah.
Whether and we'll bring the big one back in April. We're not getting rid of it. It's a tradition at Talladega, so it's
Yeah.
coming back. Or the
Yeah.
Saturday night concert, and
Yeah.
when we don't get to do something like the big one, we find something else.
Right.
Rodeo,
Right.
fireworks. We are going to do a pull around concert on Friday night as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just we're sitting back and not doing anything. It's we want to continue to elevate what we're
Sure.
doing
Yeah.
and continue to provide that ultimate guest experience for the fans that are coming out.
No
They're
doubt.
coming out starting on Monday, and so we've got to find something for them to do all the way through. But when they are coming out on Monday, it's great for our local economy and it's great for our local areas. They go and visit
Yeah.
the state parks. They go to
They
the
do.
restaurants. They go. They do different things in our
Yeah.
area, which is just great economic impact
I mean,
for our communities.
Just like here in Oxford, I mean, starting, I'm going to say on Wednesdays, town will be insane.
It will.
Okay.
And then with a Texas Roadhouse getting ready to open up this week,
Hello.
You think that timing was on purpose?
No, not at all.
nah,
By
not
the way,
even
Texas
close.
Roadhouse. If you work there and you're listening, you now owe us some money. When we come back, I want to get back to the experience side of it.
Yeah.
Because again, we just talked about it. All of us have noted it in some way, shape, or form as we travel and we wear our Talladega garb. We proudly fly those colors. That there's the anticipation of it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get back into that a little more deeply when we come back. You're listening to CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Championship Racing Network.
Thank you for saying that.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, John Myers here. And we are joined by the president of Talladega Superspeedway, Brian Creighton. They don't race them anywhere like they do at Talladega. Barney Hall was famous for saying that on the Motor Racing Network.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to the other phrase that you just mentioned. This is more than a race. This is Talladega. And, a lot of people, if they show up for the race on Sunday, hey, it's great saying. What does it mean? Well, let's go back to this. And again, it's sad to say that we're not going to have the big one on the Boulevard this year. Looking forward to its return. The big one on the Boulevard, though, might be the poster child for why that saying of this is more than a race, this is Talladega is there. If you haven't experienced the big one on the Boulevard, wow. It opened up our eyes the first time that the three of us had the chance to go to it.
The last one you and I went to was my third one. And it was probably the craziest one.
It was.
What was your favorite game that night?
That night, I'm not going to include the ice bucket. I'm not going to include that one.
Yeah, that was
That
a
was
sight to
bad.
behold.
That was bad because Clint Boyer gave Russell up the road about that.
He did.
I'm going to say probably the jousting when you got on the there right there. It was fun watching Ryan Blaney and Bubba Wallace go at it.
Yeah.
It was probably that one.
But to have the driver involvement that you had, I mean, you mentioned
Yeah.
Bubba, you mentioned Ryan Blaney, you mentioned Clint Boyer.
Mhm.
They've had Jeff Gordon come down from the Fox Sports booth, effectively,
Right.
and take part in it. The guys from NBC, Fox, whatever, MRN Radio have been a part of it. It is a spectacle. There's no doubt about it, and it is a traveling festival that goes all the way down the boulevard. I mean, it brings in everybody there, and that's on Friday night. Then you mentioned Saturday night. They got the infield concerts. We had the chance to see one of Charlie Daniels' last ever performances, which was done in the infield at Talladega Superspeedway. And it was so cool to be, and I'd seen him before, but there was something about being there in the infield at Talladega and watching him perform there.
Yep.
You know, you've had legends that have performed at the infield. There are up-and-coming country stars that have performed in the infield at Talladega. Again, this is more than a race. This is the Talladega experience. This isn't just for the racing, which is great in and of itself. This is for the whole experience.
Back to Charlie Daniels. I don't know what was a louder audience reaction when Dale Jr. would take the lead at Talladega,
Yeah.
or when Charlie Daniels broke out into Devil Went Down to Georgia.
It was the latter because I was there.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because I mean
By
that
just
infield,
about that much.
that infield crowd just went nuts,
I'm
and
sorry
it
about
was
my loud mouth, but
yeah.
It was
You were helping out there, huh?
Or Matt
But
Coulter.
yeah, it was just such a reaction, and just I mean, it was one of those moments that you will just never ever forget at
Yeah.
Talladega, and that's what we're famous for. We're famous for, creating those moments, and it's not just the team at Talladega that helps create those moments. It's the fans. It's
Sure.
the fans that are there. It's what they do on Talladega Boulevard. It's how that they, dress up their campsites. I love telling the stories of, people that just invite you into their campground.
Absolutely.
We had a journalist from up in the Northeast call us, and he said, "Hey, I understand if I can come down to Talladega, I don't need to buy any food or anything to drink, and I'll be fine all weekend." And we're like, "We don't
about right.
We don't understand what you're getting at." And he says, "I understand your campers are so nice that they'll feed me and I'll have drinks all weekend." I said, "Yeah, you're right."
It's about true.
He said,
Yeah,
"Do you mind
absolutely.
if I try it?" We said, "Come on down."
Yeah.
So we credentialed him. He put his credentials away and just walked around like he
Right.
was a fan. He didn't go hungry.
Mm-mm.
He didn't go thirsty. He was taken care of all weekend. And he said, "You're
Yep.
right." He said, "That Southern hospitality, those guests that just invite you into their campgrounds,
Yeah.
it's amazing."
But Matt Coulter would probably respectfully dispute the Devil Went Down to Georgia because when he broke out and how great thou art acoustically,
That was
that
huge.
was an arousing,
It was
astounding
And it's
ovation.
I've always found it, and I've been to enough concerts in working 30 years in the broadcasting business as I have. I've been to a whole lot of concerts, and to hear a performer start to sing a song, doesn't matter what the song is, but in the case of Charlie Daniels, Devil Went Down to Georgia. You and I, producer John, and I had the chance to go see Garth Brooks in Roanoke, Virginia, back at the height of his popularity.
Right.
Dude, when he did 3 songs actually, Friends in Low Places, The Thunder Rolls, and The Dance. And it was, as much as it was notable on the first 2, when he broke out in The Dance, and of course that's a much slower, kind of quieter song, to hear the entire arena sing along with him.
I thought the walls were coming down.
I mean, it's an amazing thing.
I always
Same
love
thing-
it when that artist stops
Yeah.
and the crowd just keeps going.
Yeah.
The crowd just keeps the song going. It's just amazing.
Same thing for Charlie Daniels, though. Not so much on Devil Went Down to Georgia, because, again, it's kind of a rockin' song. But, dude, he broke out in How Great Thou Art. You could hear people in the crowd singing with him.
Absolutely.
And that right there shows how much of a revered artist somebody like a Charlie Daniels is.
Yep.
And, again, that was, if not his last one, it was one of his last ever live performances.
I think so, yeah.
And just to be a part of that whole experience, and again, that goes back to the Talladega experience. It's not just being there for the race. It's part of an entire experience of being there for the whole time. You can go there on a Sunday and you'll get some great entertainment in a Cup Series race. But if you're not there on Saturday, it's amazing how much you're missing out on.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a great story about Charlie Daniels and the person that he is. So, we get about 50 meet and greets typically for, the concerts that come in. And so his people said, hey, how do you do your meet and greets? We said, well, usually we have a tent kind of in the backstage area. We come in, backdrop, pictures, meet and greet, kind of move on. He says, Charlie would like an RV. So, okay. So we're just kind of trying to figure out, it's like, okay, well, why does he need an RV? And he goes, because he likes to sit down and he likes to interact with the people that are coming through. It's not just a stand, quick picture, on to the next. He wants to say hi. He wants to truly meet and greet with those fans that were coming in. And so, not that Charlie wasn't already a huge and high on a pedestal, but when I heard that, I'm like, let's get the nicest motor coach we can find. Let's take care of this, because, for Charlie Daniels to want to do that for our guests and our fans that are coming in, I mean, that just shows the type of person he is.
Absolutely.
Certain artists, they seem to know, and it's the same thing with drivers. Certain drivers, they just know, and they're willing. They get it.
Yep.
They're not just there to sign autographs for, okay, it's 2:00, I've got to go.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I've still got a line of fans there. I want to take care of them.
That's right. And back to the big one on the Boulevard, and you mentioned all those different drivers that come out, and it goes back to the team at Talladega that puts together the fun activities and puts together this great experience, because that's what brings the drivers out. If it was a bad experience, if the drivers weren't having fun, if it was boring or whatever else, they're not coming.
Yeah.
And it just shows, and we actually have to limit the drivers that come out, because that trailer is only so big.
Right.
And so now we've started to say, or we did, pre-COVID, it was, we'll have a couple of pickup trucks and kind of like ride-around trucks back behind, and so it'll kind of follow the parade around, and then you guys can jump up on the stage or kind of be around stage then. So it's become so popular that we've had to kind of limit. So we've almost sold out Big One on the Boulevard.
Hey.
Sold out in a good way.
That's not a bad thing.
No.
Yeah.
And it all started
have to turn away drivers.
That's right. And it all started with barbecue sauce wrestling.
I remember that.
I remember that too. Yeah.
I remember that. I have to admit, that was not the one that I went to.
Yeah.
I wish I had now.
But some of my favorite meetings are brainstorm meetings for the Big One on the Boulevard.
Oh, I bet.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. They're a lot of fun.
I bet. Again, how do they get tickets if they haven't got their tickets already?
Yeah, if you want to talk to a representative, 877-GO-TO-DEGA. That's the number 2, so GO2 DEGA, or TalladegaSuperspeedway.com. And that way you can kind of search through and look at all the different options that we have available, including Talladega Garage Experience, and you can go through the purchase process online there.
Now, I haven't had as much of an opportunity to note this, but Matt, you noted it in the spring. When you were there as a fan. Brian doesn't sit in his office during race day.
No.
As the president, what do you do on race day? What kind of run around your day? I mean, a lot of people would think, okay, he feels like his time is done. He's in his office taking a nap. You're not.
No, naps start on Tuesday after race weekend. Once that adrenaline from the race weekend kind of wears off. But no, we have a 6 o'clock morning meeting on race day. And so, I'm obviously in the office before that, getting ready. And then after that meeting's over, the day begins, and I'm out there. I'm out there, whether it's, I'll take us back to 2019 since that was the last normal one, but I was in Talladega Garage Experience. I was, talking to the fans. I was interacting. I want to see how they're taking it, and I want to understand, the good, the bad, and what we need to change, what we need to modify as we're moving forward. Walking the concourses, meeting fans, asking them about their experiences, keeping a very close eye on concession stand lines, because, unfortunately with some of the staffing issues that, we're all experiencing right now, we had some problems in April, but we've stayed after it, and we're not going to have those same problems this October. I go to the suites to say hi to our partners. I, come up to the booth. I try to be out there. I try to listen, learn, and, figure out ways that we can be better. Because, NASCAR brings the competition, which is, to me, second to none. We provide an amazing facility, but it's our team's responsibility to provide that guest experience.
Sure.
And to make sure that guest experience brings them back, and hopefully 2, 3, 4 friends back the next time around. So I'm out there mingling, with everybody, going through the campgrounds, and just, trying to get all over the place just to understand and learn what every single person, needs. And one of the things that I'm doing this time is I've got presidential coins. I've got a limited
Okay.
amount of presidential coins. And so 500 of them. And so what I'm going to be doing, and the first person in line over there in North Park is going to get a presidential coin. And so we're rewarding, if I see something that, is a fan going above and beyond or just having a great time or a kid that's here, I've got 500 numbered presidential coins that I'm going to be passing out throughout the weekend.
Very cool.
Just to, again, to show the fans how much we appreciate them coming back and how much Talladega understands this is about the fans. This is about the fans. It's, and so.
Well, and the truth of the matter is, if you can even have the best racing on the planet, which, again, we honestly believe that Talladega does. But if you have a horrible experience otherwise, it doesn't matter whether the racing was that good. If the rest of your experience was horrible, you're not going to want to come back.
Exactly.
And that's what, in talking with the people that I've had the chance to talk to at Talladega, that's what they know so well.
Sure. Yeah, it's the experience, and we say the unique social experience a lot, but it truly is. But we've got experience for all. We have a non-alcoholic campground. We've got quiet campgrounds. We've got the Boulevard. We've got
which is not quiet.
It's not quiet, but we embrace that because that is part of Talladega. When I first got to Talladega back in 2010, I sat in Grant Lynch's office, and we kind of talked about the future and what we were going to do. Yeah. And I said, we have to embrace the party. We have to embrace the unique social atmosphere. And we have to embrace the racing and the accidents. We have to embrace the crashes. So that night we went out to Talladega Boulevard, and it was just a parade of cars and police cars going up and down the boulevard. And I said, Grant, what's this? And he goes, oh, they're just showing people the boulevard. I said, it's killing the party, man. I said, shut down the boulevard from 7 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock at morning. Only emergency vehicles are allowed in.
There you go.
Because the boulevard was starting to kind of shrink and not be that experience that it once was.
Right.
Well, as soon as we shut it down, the party started again.
There you go.
And we want to make sure everybody's safe, of course. We want to make sure everybody's having a great time.
Sure.
But this is their release. We have CEOs of companies, presidents of companies, owners of companies that are in that infield, and it's their release. And they're come out to see it all.
Yeah.
And so, we want to make sure we provide that. And we thank our fans for providing a lot of that unique social atmosphere. We do a bunch, but they do a bunch as well.
This is an opportunity. You mentioned, CEOs, owners of companies are coming out. This is also in a lot of ways, this is their employee appreciation time, is they bring them to Talladega.
That's right. Absolutely. We actually have ATAP, who is right behind us, a company that they refurbish military equipment. They just got 90 tickets because they wanted to take care of all of their employees and send them out to to that. And so we've got lots of sponsors that bring groups in. Yellowwood, for the Yellowwood 500, they're going to have 250 VIPs. They got 2 suites on the outside, 4 suites in the Yellowwood Pit Road Club. They have, last October was their first entry really into NASCAR, and they continue to grow and grow and grow.
I was about to say, they seem to have jumped in with both feet.
Absolutely. They were down at COTA. They told us that they're getting calls from their Atlanta dealers like, hey, are you going to have tickets to the Atlanta race? We want to go to the Atlanta race. And so they're seeing the power. They're seeing, the what NASCAR brings. And so they continue to expand inside the sport of NASCAR. And that's what we love to see.
Yeah. And it's, again, some things are not necessarily the most family friendly, but that's not to say you can't bring the family. Just because this area right here maybe you want to shy away from if you've got kids. There's a whole lot for the kids to do, and you talked about it earlier in just the garage experience, the Big Bill's garage with the playground and areas for the kids to play. There's a lot of places in and around on the campgrounds, inside and outside of the track, that are perfect for the entire family.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, Champions Corner, that's a non-alcoholic campground, so no alcohol allowed in that campground. We have a Boy Scout, Girl Scout campground as well, and so there's no alcohol there as either. We also, this go around, not only do we have the playground inside Talladega Garage Experience, we're doing a lot of different things in display that are geared towards the kids as well. So we're going to have NASCAR simulators that are going to be out there. There's a brand new, it's the Adventure Zone, where it's geared just to kids. You can build your own little race car and then run it around a racetrack. And so, it's,
Nice.
we really, that Talladega Garage Experience, Talladega Talladega Boulevard is for the adults. Talladega Garage Experience is for all, but it's really geared towards those families, that core fan that wants to get into the garage, but really, really a great atmosphere for the families to come out. Kids are free Saturday. And then $50 off every ticket on Sunday as well. So great pricing for the kids to come on out.
As you look ahead to the future of Talladega Superspeedway, just Talladega in and of itself, obviously we just had that renovation that we unveiled, did the ribbon cutting in 2019, but there are plans, I guess, for the future. And what are some of the things that you as the president would like to see come to Talladega?
Sure. Yeah, there's always plans, and we have the 3, 5, 7, 10-year plans, at Talladega. Unfortunately, COVID has put the whole company kind of behind a little bit in the plans because, we were fortunate enough to be, that last big project.
Just ahead.
So, just ahead of it all. Yeah. And so there's still some other racetracks that are in line now that we're getting back into the big capital infusion back into our racetracks because we all need it. So there are plans that are out there, but we've been very, very fortunate to change out every single seat in our grandstands. I don't know if you guys I'm sure you remember the old metal 18-inch wide
Very
chairs.
well.
And so now they're 21 to 22-inch wide stadium-style plastic seats in there, changed the concourses around. Of course, the big infield project. So we're looking at different things. I'll go ahead and say it right now. Lights are not in the plan for anytime soon because I know that's everybody's big question. I always like to say we race them nowhere in the world like they do at Talladega during the day, and we party nowhere in the world like they do at Talladega at night. So
that being said, we have seen Talladega race kind of at night. It wrapped up under the lights.
We have.
The lights on the grandstands were just enough with the sun going down.
Yes.
Tell them once again, Brian, how do they get tickets?
Yeah, 877-GO-TO, that's the number 2, Dega, go to Dega, or TalladagaSuperspeedway.com.
President of Talladega Superspeedway, Brian Crichton, thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you guys for having me out. Thank you for what you do for Talladega Superspeedway and racing.
Anytime. Happy to do it. We'll do it all again next week right here. We'll be back to the news format on Talladega weekend. And we'll have plenty of conversation about Talladega as well. Hope you join us then. Enjoy the racing this weekend, and good luck to whatever football team you happen to be rooting for, whatever team that may be. And we'll talk to you again right here on CRN.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.